The lab was quiet except for the soft hum of machines and the flicker of blue lights. Dr. Ilara Wynne leaned closer to the microscope, her eyes wide with disbelief. She had run the test 3 times, and every time the result came back the same. The blood sample in front of her did not belong to a normal human. It shimmered. Under the bright lens, the liquid seemed alive, glowing faintly with tiny sparkles of blue light that danced in rhythm with a pulse she could not explain. She blinked, stepped back, and checked the screen beside her. The readings were impossible. Ilara rubbed her temples and took a deep breath. "This can't be right," she whispered. "No human body does this." She saved the data carefully, labeling it Subject K-47. Only she and Commander Reese had access to that file. And Subject K-47 was no stranger. He was Kale, the quiet soldier who had saved her life 2 weeks ago when the colony's power grid had exploded during an alien attack. Since that day, Kale had become something of a legend in the colony. He worked silently, always calm, always alert. He never spoke much, but his presence gave people a strange sense of safety. To Ilara, however, there was something about him that didn't fit, something that didn't belong to this world. The thought unsettled her. She turned away from the microscope and walked toward the wide glass wall of the lab. Outside, the colony stretched under the soft glow of twin moons. Towers of metal and glass shimmered in the distance, surrounded by protective shields that kept the storms of planet Varus from tearing everything apart. Her reflection stared back at her, tired eyes, messy hair, and a white lab coat stained with hours of work. She sighed softly. "You're losing it, Ilara," she murmured. "He's just different, that's all." But deep down she didn't believe her own words. A sudden voice startled her. "You're still working, Doctor?" She turned quickly. Kale stood in the doorway wearing his usual black uniform. His short dark hair was wet, as if he had just come from training, and his calm gray eyes studied her quietly. Ilara tried to sound casual. "I could say the same for you." "Don't you ever rest?" Kale smiled faintly. "Rest is for those who need it." He stepped closer, glancing at the data screens. "You're studying my blood again, aren't you?" Ilara froze for a second. "Routine follow-up," she said quickly. "After the incident, Commander Reese wanted to make sure you're fully healed." Kyle tilted his head slightly. "And what did you find?" She hesitated. The truth burned on her tongue, but something about his calm face made her hold back. "You're healing well, better than expected." He nodded, but she saw the flicker of something in his eyes, something like worry. "I heal faster than most," Kale said softly. "It's always been that way." Ilara crossed her arms. "That's not normal, Kale. The explosion should have left you in recovery for weeks. But you were walking in 3 days. No broken bones, no burns. Your body repaired itself as if it was programmed to." Kale looked away toward the window. "Maybe I'm just lucky." Ilara shook her head. "No one's that lucky." A long silence filled the room. The hum of the machine sounded louder now. Kale finally turned back to her, his voice calm but serious. "There are things better left unknown, Dr. Wynne." The way he said her name sent a chill through her. His tone wasn't threatening, but it carried a strange sadness, almost as if he pitied her for asking. Then he turned and left the lab without another word. Ilara stood frozen for a moment, staring at the door after him. His words echoed in her mind. There are things better left unknown. The next morning, Ilara couldn't stop thinking about Kale. She had tried to focus on her other projects, terraforming samples, nutrient balances, radiation shielding, but every time she looked at the monitor, she saw the glowing pattern in his blood. She told herself she should stop. The colony's rules were strict about privacy and genetic data, but curiosity was stronger than rules. By midday, she was back in her lab, alone again. She locked the door, dimmed the lights, and began another scan of the blood sample she had secretly saved. This time, she used the advanced AI analyzer, something that could read molecular data beyond human science. Lines of code filled the screen, symbols shifting too fast for her eyes to follow. She waited, tapping her fingers nervously. Then the results appeared. Ilara leaned closer, her breath catching in her throat. The data was not DNA, it was something else, something mixed with artificial code. There were repeating patterns, not of organic design, but of information. It looked like a message, tiny fragments of digital code hidden inside his genetic structure. "What is this?" she whispered. "A genetic signal?" She activated the AI's translator, trying to decode the sequence. The monitor flashed and a faint pulse appeared on the screen. It blinked softly, almost like a heartbeat. Every time it flashed, the lab lights dimmed slightly as if something was drawing energy from the room. Ilara stepped back, alarmed. "That's not possible," she said. "DNA can't transmit signals." But the pulse continued, steady, alive, and strong. She realized with growing fear that Kale's body was broadcasting something. That night, the colony sky glowed with faint blue streaks. People thought it was just the storm's reflection. Ilara knew better. She sat at her desk, reading the data again and again, trying to make sense of it. The signal she had detected was growing stronger. A sound behind her made her jump. "Still awake, Doctor?" She spun around. Kale stood in the shadows of her lab, his eyes faintly glowing under the dim lights. "How long have you been there?" she asked, trying to steady her voice. "Long enough," Kale replied softly. He walked closer, his footsteps silent. "You shouldn't have done that." Ilara felt a cold wave of fear. "Done what?" she said, pretending not to understand. "You activated it," Kale said. "Now they'll know where we are." Before she could ask what he meant, the monitor flashed violently. The AI system crashed, the lights flickered, and every screen went dark. For a few seconds, only the glow from Kale's eyes lit the room. Then, as quickly as it started, everything went silent. Ilara stood still, her heart pounding. "Kale, what's happening?" He turned to her, his face calm but sad. "You're too kind to understand, Doctor. You see me as a man, but I was never meant to be one." "What are you saying?" she whispered. Kyle looked toward the window where the faint blue lights from the storm flickered like distant stars. "I thought I could hide it, but your curiosity woke them up. And now, they'll come for us both." Before Ilara could speak again, Kale's eyes dimmed, and he walked out of the lab, leaving her standing alone in the darkness. That night, she couldn't sleep. The wind howled outside, rattling the metal walls of the research dome. She kept replaying his words. "They'll come for us both." Who were they? What did he mean by wasn't meant to be human? She sat by her window staring at the twin moons. Somewhere beyond the clouds, far beyond the stars, something had heard that signal, and now it was coming. Ilara didn't know it yet. But the truth about Kale's origin would soon shatter everything she believed about humanity, about life itself. Because Kale wasn't just different. He wasn't just extraordinary. He wasn't entirely human. The next morning, Dr. Ilara Wynne walked through the colony halls feeling the weight of the night before. Her thoughts were tangled, her mind restless. The words Kyle had said still echoed in her head. "You shouldn't have done that. Now they'll come for us both." Every step she took sounded too loud in the empty corridor. The colony was quiet this early, except for the distant hum of engines beneath the floors. Outside the metal walls, storms swept across planet Varus, lightning flashing through thick silver clouds. Ilara reached her lab, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. The air smelled faintly of ozone, as if the crash from last night had burned the circuits. Most of her systems were still offline. The main monitor was black, and the AI core had completely shut down. She sighed softly and began her work, restoring power to one console at a time. As the lights flickered back on, the memory of Kale's glowing eyes returned to her. It wasn't imagination. She had seen the light. It came from within him. When the final system rebooted, the screen flashed a message she hadn't written. "Signal active. Source unknown," Ilara frowned. "No, it's still running?" She quickly typed in commands to trace the source. Lines of code scrolled across the screen, filled with strange patterns, symbols she couldn't read. Her pulse quickened. The signal hadn't stopped after the crash. It had only gone underground, hiding inside the colony's power network. She whispered to herself. "It's using the systems like a living thing. It's spreading." Her curiosity burned stronger now. She had to understand. Ilara decided to run a deeper analysis, but she needed a more powerful tool. The colony's main AI was restricted by government security, but she knew a backdoor route. Her late mentor had taught her one before he passed away. Using it was risky, but if Kale was truly connected to some unknown source, she couldn't turn away. She plugged a data cable from her console into the main colony server. Lights on the machine began to blink rapidly as the AI interface loaded. "System override request detected," the machine said in a soft digital voice. "Authorization required." Ilara typed carefully, her hands shaking slightly. Override code Theta 9Win7. Override accepted, the AI responded. Accessing restricted data channels. Lines of glowing data began to fill the screen again. This time she could see the shape of the signal clearly. It looked like a spiral, pulsing slowly. Inside that spiral were tiny fragments of data repeating over and over. The words formed a pattern, almost like a message, though it was broken and incomplete. Then something unexpected happened. The AI's voice changed. Unknown signal is interacting with the main system. What do you mean interacting? Ilara asked, alarmed. Signal has recognized observer. Attempting to communicate. The lab lights flickered. The monitor brightened with a faint blue glow, the same color she had seen in Kale's blood. On the screen appeared a single word. Awake. Ilara's heart skipped a beat. Who's there? She whispered. The monitor responded again. Awake. Find me. The room filled with a strange hum, almost like a soft vibration through the walls. She took a step back, fear and wonder mixing inside her. This can't be real. Suddenly a shadow moved behind her. Ilara, said a familiar voice. She turned sharply. Kale stood in the doorway, his face calm but unreadable. His eyes reflected the same faint blue light as the monitor. What are you doing here? She asked nervously. You shouldn't. He raised a hand, stopping her. You're still looking into the signal. Ilara hesitated. I need to understand what's happening, Kyle. I can't just ignore this. That signal, it's alive. It's inside your blood and now it's inside the system. Kyle's expression didn't change, but there was sadness in his eyes. You don't understand what you're waking up. Then tell me, she said. Who are they? What are you hiding from me? Kale looked away. I was created to protect humanity, not to scare it. Created? Ilara repeated in disbelief. You mean, you're not fully human, Kyle said softly. Half of what I am was built long ago, by a civilization that vanished before humans learned to leave their planet. They were called the Aelith. They hid fragments of their kind in the DNA of early humans, so that one day when the time was right, they could return through us. Ilara stared at him, her mind struggling to take it in. That's impossible. Kale gave a faint smile. You said that about my blood too. She wanted to deny it, but deep down she knew the truth. Everything she'd seen, the strange healing, the glowing veins, it all fit now. So you're one of them? She asked. I'm both, Kale said. Part human, part Aelith. A bridge between two races. I was meant to awaken quietly, to learn to live among humans, but the explosion changed that. It activated my signal too early. Now the Aelith know I'm alive. Ilara's hands trembled. That means they're coming for you, doesn't it? Kale nodded slowly. They won't harm me. They'll come to claim me, but they might not stop there. The air in the lab grew colder. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky, shaking the dome. Ilara's voice softened. Then we need to warn the commander. We can protect you. Kyle shook his head. No. The more you resist them, the more they'll see you as a threat. You don't understand their power, Ilara. They don't invade like humans do. They awaken minds. They change what you believe. They rewrite who you are. Ilara's heart raced. You're saying they can control us? He didn't answer directly. They can make you forget you were ever human. A loud alarm suddenly broke the silence. Red lights flashed across the lab. Ilara ran to the console, her heart pounding. What's happening? She shouted over the noise. Kale's expression hardened. They found the signal. They're trying to connect. The monitor filled with symbols again, faster than before. The AI voice echoed, incoming transmission, origin unknown. Block it, Ilara ordered, typing furiously. But every time she tried, the symbols reappeared stronger. The entire colony grid was responding now. Kale placed his hand on the screen. His skin glowed faintly, the same color as the symbols. For a moment, everything froze, the lights, the noise, even the data. Then the alarm stopped. Ilara stared at him. What did you do? I stopped them. For now, Kale said. He looked exhausted, like the effort had drained him. But they'll try again. You can't study me anymore, Ilara. You must destroy everything you found. But no, he interrupted firmly. If they trace it through the systems, they'll come here. You'll all be in danger. Ilara's heart hurt hearing his words. She could see he was afraid, not for himself, but for everyone else. Kale, she said quietly, if you're part of them, why protect us? Why not go to them? Kyle smiled faintly, though his eyes looked sad. Because I learned something they never understood. Humanity isn't perfect, but it has heart. You fight, you build, you care. I want to protect that. Alara felt tears rise in her eyes. Then let me help you. You already have, he said softly. You made me feel human. Before she could say anything, he turned toward the door. I have to go. I can't stay here now. Where will you go? Somewhere they can't reach easily. The old mining zones, they block most transmissions. I can hide there for a while. She wanted to stop him, but deep inside she knew she couldn't. He was right. The signal was too powerful, and now it was awake. Kale paused at the door and looked back one last time. Delete your files, Alara, everything. Don't let anyone see them. Promise me. She nodded weakly. I promise. Then he was gone. Hours later, Alara sat alone in the silent lab. The storm outside had quieted, but inside her a different storm raged. She deleted the files one by one, watching the data vanish into nothing. When the last one was gone, she turned off the lights and leaned back in her chair. But just before the system shut down completely, the monitor flickered once more. A faint line of blue text appeared across the black screen. We see you. Alara froze. The lights dimmed again, and outside the lab window, something bright flashed across the night sky. 3 faint blue trails moving in formation toward the colony. Her breath caught. Kale's warning echoed in her mind. Now they'll come for us both. The colony had seen storms before, but nothing like this. The sky above planet Varus burned with strange blue lights that twisted across the clouds like ribbons of fire. The winds roared for hours, shaking the towers and making the power lines spark. People stood by their windows, frightened and confused, while alarms echoed through the city. Dr. Alara Wynn hadn't slept since Kale left. She sat in her lab, staring at the radar feed on her main screen. 3 unknown objects had appeared just beyond the outer ring of the planet's atmosphere. Their movements were silent, graceful, and far too precise to be natural. She zoomed in. The objects weren't meteors. They were ships. Her breath caught in her throat. The shapes were unlike any human design, long and curved like wings of glass, glowing faintly with the same blue light she had seen in Kale's eyes. They floated in the void like living things. The communicator on her desk beeped suddenly, making her jump. Dr. Wynn, said Commander Reese's voice, calm but tense. You're seeing this too, right? Yes, she said, her voice trembling. 3 crafts holding position near the asteroid belt. No radio signals, no energy spikes. They're just watching. Any idea who they are? Alara hesitated. I think I do, but you won't believe me. Try me, Doctor. She took a deep breath. They're not from any race we know. They're connected to Kale. There was silence on the other end. Then Reese said carefully, the soldier? The one who disappeared 2 nights ago? Yes, his DNA isn't human. Not completely. Those ships might be here because of him. Reese sighed heavily. All right. Whatever he is, those ships better stay out of our airspace. We can't take chances. The line cut off. Alara turned back to the window, feeling cold. The storm outside was calming, but the lights in the sky hadn't faded. They hovered there, waiting, watching. Meanwhile, far from the colony dome, Kale stood on a rocky cliff overlooking the endless desert plains of Varus. His dark uniform was torn, his face covered in dust, but his eyes were fixed on the sky. He could feel them, their presence pulsing in the air like a heartbeat that wasn't his own. The ships were calling to him, singing a song only he could hear. You found me, he whispered. The wind carried the faint hum of energy. His body responded unconsciously. The blue glow returned to his veins, lighting the night around him. Kale fell to one knee, pressing his hand to the ground. The energy surged through him, filling his mind with flashes of memory that weren't his. Images of ancient cities of crystal, voices speaking in languages older than stars, and faces that shone with the same blue light. He saw the Aelith, the race that had created him. He saw their homeworld burning, their towers collapsing into the sea of clouds. He heard their last words echoing in his mind. Hide within them. Let our legacy live through their blood. Kyle gasped and opened his eyes. The vision faded. The storm was gone, but the ships remained, their blue lights bright against the black sky. I remember now, he whispered. I was never meant to be alone. Back in the colony, Alara tried to warn the council about the incoming crafts, but most dismissed her concerns. Some thought the ships were just debris caught in orbit. Others believed it was a natural phenomenon. Only Commander Reese trusted her. He ordered defense systems on standby and grounded all flights. As the day turned to night again, the first of the alien ships began to move closer. It descended slowly through the clouds, silent as falling snow. Every sensor in the colony went wild. Energy readings spiked beyond known limits. The sky turned pale blue and the air itself began to vibrate. People gathered in the streets staring upward in awe. A vast shape glided through the mist, a silver vessel the size of a mountain covered in shifting lights. It hovered above the colony, casting a shadow that stretched for miles. Then for the first time a voice echoed across every speaker and screen. It wasn't a human voice. It was soft, calm, and filled with strange emotion. "Return to us, Kale of the Aelith. Your cycle is complete." Alara froze. She stared at the words flashing across her monitor. The entire colony had heard them. People began whispering in confusion and fear. Commander Reese's voice broke through the chaos on the intercom. "Dr. Wynne, report to the command center immediately." She grabbed her coat and ran. The command center was a storm of noise and light. Officers shouted over each other, trying to make sense of the readings. Reese stood at the main console, his face pale. "Doctor," he said quickly, "they're broadcasting something. It's not a language we know, but it keeps repeating that same phrase, 'return to us.' What does it mean?" Alara took a deep breath. "It means they're calling for Kale. They want him back." Reese looked at her sharply. "And if he doesn't go?" Alara hesitated. "I don't know, but they might not leave peacefully." Before Reese could answer, one of the officers shouted, "Sir, something's happening to the power grid." The lights flickered, then went out completely. The room plunged into darkness. Only the blue glow from the monitors remained. And in that faint light, Alara saw something. Tiny sparks floating in the air like glowing dust. They swirled slowly, forming shapes that almost looked like letters, then faded away. She whispered, "It's the same energy that came from Kale." Reese turned to her. "Find him, Doctor." Before they do, Alara didn't waste a second. She grabbed a scanner and left the command center, running through the empty corridors. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. The colony lights were still out and the air was heavy with static. Outside the main dome, she could see the alien ship hanging in the sky like a second moon. Its surface rippled with color, alive and breathing. Alara used her scanner to trace energy readings. They led away from the city toward the outer plains, the same direction Kale had gone. She took a rover and drove into the stormy night. Hours passed before she finally saw him. Kyle stood alone on the rock, staring at the descending ship. His eyes glowed brighter now, almost blinding in the dark. She stopped the rover and ran to him. "Kale," she shouted. "You can't let them take you." He turned slowly, his expression calm but distant. "They've already found me. I can't stop them. You said you wanted to protect humanity. If you go with them, what happens to us?" Kale looked up at the massive ship hovering above. "If I go, they might leave you alone. If I stay, they'll destroy everything trying to reach me." Alara shook her head. "There has to be another way." Kyle smiled sadly. "Sometimes the only way to protect something is to give it up." A bright beam of light fell from the ship, surrounding them both. The wind roared as the ground trembled beneath their feet. Alara shielded her eyes. "Kyle!" she cried out. He turned toward her, his voice steady even as the light grew stronger. "Tell them that being human was worth it." Then, before she could move, the light engulfed him completely. When it faded, Kale was gone. The ship slowly rose higher into the sky, its glow dimming as it drifted back toward the stars. The other two ships followed, vanishing beyond the clouds. Alara stood there alone, her heart heavy and her face wet with tears. The desert wind carried the faint echo of Kale's last words. Back at the colony, systems slowly came back online. Power returned. The skies cleared. People celebrated, believing the danger was over, but Alara knew better. She looked up at the stars, whispering softly, "You promised to protect us, and you did." She didn't know if Kale was alive or if he had been taken somewhere beyond her reach. But one thing was certain: humanity was no longer alone in the universe. And whatever the Aelith wanted, their eyes were now turned toward Earth's children. The truth about Kyle had changed everything. He wasn't just a soldier. He wasn't just human. He was the bridge between what humanity was and what it was destined to become. The colony had returned to a tense calm. Systems were online again. Lights glowed softly and people tried to resume their routines. But for Dr. Alara Wynn, nothing felt normal. Kale was gone, taken, or at least lifted by those strange ships. She could still feel the echo of his presence like the faint pulse of a heartbeat in the air. The blue glow of the alien energy had left traces, lingering in the colony's atmosphere. Ilara kept her lab in darkness most of the time, afraid of the residual energy waking something she didn't yet understand. She sat by the observation window looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, Kale floated among beings she could not imagine, his body a bridge between humanity and the Aelith. And somewhere inside her, she felt an urgent need to act. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a low hum. A vibration ran through the floor, deep and steady. Her heart skipped. She ran to the console and checked the sensors. "What?" she whispered. The reading showed a massive energy spike emanating from the desert plains outside the colony dome. The same place Kale had disappeared. It wasn't the ships. It was him. Ilara grabbed her coat and raced to the rover. The hum grew louder with every step she took. By the time she reached the edge of the colony, the ground itself seemed to pulse beneath her feet. Rocks lifted slightly, dust swirled in strange patterns, and the air crackled with energy. Then she saw him. Kyle stood in the center of a bright blue circle, veins glowing with light that shot like lightning across his body. His eyes were closed, his face calm, but his hands lifted slightly as if he was feeling something beyond human perception. Ilara's breath caught. "Kyle," she shouted. "What's happening?" He opened his eyes slowly. The glow inside them was almost blinding. He did not speak, but the vibration of the air seemed to carry his words. "I am awake. I feel them." Ilara took cautious steps forward. "Kale, what is happening to you?" He looked at her, and for the first time his calm demeanor cracked. A shadow of fear crossed his face. "They are here. They want me to join them fully. If I do, they will see the colony. They will see humanity." She ran toward him, reaching out. "Then don't. Fight them. You can control this." Kale's body shivered and blue energy arced across the ground. Rocks floated around him, swirling in a chaotic dance. "I'm trying," he said, his voice echoing with a strange resonance. "But their call is strong. Stronger than anything I've felt before." Ilara's mind raced. She remembered the colony's power core, the massive energy source that powered everything from the shields to the communications array. Maybe, just maybe, she could use it to stabilize Kale. "Kale," she called, "I can help. I can connect you to the power core. It can anchor your energy, keep you grounded." He looked at her, a faint smile breaking through the tension. "Do you trust me with this, Doctor?" Ilara nodded. "I trust you with my life." Kale's eyes softened. He stretched out his hand and she took it firmly. Together they ran toward the base of the core. The blue energy around Kale pulsed faster, brighter, almost like it had a life of its own. As they approached, the core's systems reacted. The lights flickered violently, alarms screamed, and a low hum filled the air. But Ilara ignored it. She guided Kale's hand to the console. "Connect now." Kale placed both hands on the interface. Sparks of blue energy surged outward, wrapping around him in a protective cocoon. The hum grew louder, but instead of harming him, it seemed to calm him. Slowly, the floating rocks and swirling dust settled to the ground. Ilara watched, breathless. "It's working," Kale's voice echoed, deep and steady now. "Yep, I feel balance, grounded, human." The glow in his veins faded slightly, leaving a soft, radiant light instead of wild arcs of energy. He looked at Ilara, his expression tired but relieved. "You saved me. You trusted me when the Aelith tried to claim me. That gives me strength." Ilara smiled, though tears welled in her eyes. "You're stronger than any human I've ever known. But you're still one of us. That's why you can control it." For a moment, the night was silent except for the gentle hum of the colony systems. Kale stepped forward and extended his hand toward the distant horizon. "They are still out there," he said. "Watching, waiting, but now, I can face them. I can protect this world." Ilara followed him, holding tightly to his hand. Then we faced them together. Suddenly the ground trembled beneath their feet. From the shadows beyond the desert, the first of the alien ships reappeared. Its surface shimmered, alive with energy, and its glow reflected off the sand in strange patterns. Kale raised his hand, his body glowing faintly. "They want me to awaken fully," he said. "But I choose differently. I choose humanity." A beam of light shot from the ship, striking Kale directly. The colony sensors went wild, tracking energy levels beyond human comprehension. But Kale did not scream. Instead, he absorbed the energy into his body, letting it flow through him, grounding it with the power of the colony. Alara gasped. "Kale, be careful!" He looked at her, calm and focused. "I must. If I falter, they will see the fear in humanity. And fear will give them the power to take everything." The ship pulsed again, sending waves of energy that pushed the ground apart. Dust and rock swirled violently, but Kale stood firm. The blue light in his veins now spread outward, forming a protective shield around him and the surrounding area. Alara realized something incredible. Kale wasn't just defending himself, he was defending the colony. He was defending humanity. The ship hovered, energy crackling around it, then paused. A soft vibration filled the air, almost like a question. Kale's voice carried across the desert, calm and commanding. "I belong here, with them. Not with you." For a moment there was silence. Then the ship's glow dimmed. Slowly the vessel lifted into the sky, retreating back into the darkness. 2 smaller ships followed, leaving the desert plain clear once more. Alara ran to Kale, relief flooding her. "You did it. You stopped them." Kale knelt slightly, exhausted. "I did, but it took everything. The energy, the grounding. I feel weaker now. My body cannot hold this forever." She took his hand again, worry etched across her face. "You saved all of us. That's more than enough," he smiled faintly. "I chose to protect humanity, because this world made me human. They gave me purpose, and purpose is stronger than power." Alara felt a warmth in her chest. The night sky cleared above, stars twinkling like distant fires. For the first time in days, she felt hope. Humanity had been tested, and with Kale's choice had proven worthy. Kale looked at her one last time. "You must remember this, Doctor. Power alone does not make a protector. Heart does. Compassion does. That is what they cannot understand, and that is what makes humanity extraordinary." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I will remember, Kale. Always." He smiled, then slowly sank to one knee, the glow in his body fading to a soft blue. The energy had been spent. The battle was over for now, but Alara knew the Aelith were still out there, waiting, watching. Yet humanity had something no alien technology could replicate. It had hope. It had courage. And now, thanks to Kale, it had protection. As the first light of dawn touched the colony, Alara took a deep breath, watching the sky. She knew this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of wonders and dangers, but Kale's choice had made one thing clear. Humanity could rise. Humanity could survive, and when it did, it could stand among the stars, not as prey, but as equals. The morning after the awakening was eerily calm. The colony had survived the alien visit, and the storms had finally passed. But for Dr. Alara Wynne, the calm was only a fragile mask over the tension that remained. Kale had fought with powers far beyond human understanding. Yet now he seemed weaker, drained by the energy he had absorbed. Alara found him in the quiet desert plains outside the colony, sitting on a large rock. His hands rested on his knees, his head bowed. The soft blue glow in his veins dimmed almost to nothing. The wind carried only silence, broken occasionally by the soft whisper of dust across sand. "Kyle," she called gently, approaching him. "How are you feeling?" He lifted his head slowly, meeting her gaze with gray eyes that were calm but tired. "Alive," he said softly. "But the cost, the energy I hold now is unstable. I can protect the colony for only so long." Alara knelt beside him, worry pressing down on her. "We can fix it. We can find a way to recharge you." Kale shook his head. "It is not like a battery. The energy inside me comes from choices, from purpose. I have given my strength to protect humanity. That cannot be renewed artificially." She frowned, searching his face. "So, what happens now?" He looked out at the horizon, the rising sun turning the sky pale pink. "They will come back," he said quietly. "The Aelith. They will not forget me. And if they find me, they may not leave the colony intact." Alara's heart tightened. "Then we need to prepare. We can strengthen defenses, build shields, train people." "No," Kyle interrupted gently. "Preparation is only temporary. They are not like humans. Their power is not measured in weapons or shields. They awaken minds, they see through thoughts, they change the world around them. You cannot stop them like you would an army. Only one choice remains for me. Ilara's eyes widened. What choice? Kale turned to her, his face calm but filled with sorrow. I must leave. I cannot stay here and risk the colony. If I remain, they will see that I am human. And they will awaken fear. Fear will destroy this world. She shook her head fiercely. No, you've already fought for us. You're one of us now. You don't get to leave. Kale smiled faintly, touched by her words. You understand, Doctor. But this is not about me. It is about humanity. Your people, deserve a future free from fear. And that is something I cannot guarantee if I stay. Ilara's hands trembled as she reached for him. Kyle, we need you. We can't survive without you. He held her gaze, his voice soft but certain. You will survive. Humanity is stronger than I am. I have seen courage in your hearts, hope in your minds, and kindness in your souls. That is more than any power I possess. That is why I fight for you, not because I am stronger, but because I believe in you. The wind rose again, faintly brushing past them. From the distant horizon, 3 faint blue lights began to appear. The Aelith ships had returned. Unlike before, they did not move violently or threaten. They hovered, observing, waiting for Kyle to make his decision. Ilara felt fear rising in her chest. They're here. Kale, if you go, what happens to you? He stood slowly, the dim glow of his veins lighting the desert like a soft lantern. If I go willingly, they will leave the colony untouched. If I resist, they might take me anyway and harm everyone I swore to protect. Ilara stepped closer, her hand still holding his. Then choose humanity. Stay with us. Kale's expression softened. I have already chosen. That is why I must leave, her eyes filled with tears. No, please, Kale. He cupped her face gently, his touch warm despite the lingering energy around him. Do not mourn me, Doctor. My existence here was never just about living. It was about proving that choice matters, that humanity is worth defending. The blue light from the ships grew brighter. Kyle raised his hand toward them, his energy responding to their signal. The wind whipped around them, swirling dust into the air. Ilara braced herself, gripping his hands tightly. Remember, Kale whispered, what I taught you. Strength alone does not protect. Compassion, courage, and hope. These are your greatest weapons. Do not forget. With that, the energy inside him surged, brighter and stronger than ever. The glow from his veins intertwined with the light from the ships, forming a brilliant cascade of colors in the sky. Ilara closed her eyes, shielding herself from the brilliance. When she opened them, Kale was gone. The ships had taken him into the sky, the blue light fading as they vanished into the darkness beyond the stars. Ilara sank to her knees, tears streaming down her face. She felt the loss of Kale deeply, but she also felt something else, a quiet, growing hope. Humanity had been tested, and it had been defended by one who believed in it. Kale's choice had proven that humans were capable of greatness, not just through power but through heart. The colony slowly returned to normal, though the events of the past days left a permanent mark. People spoke of the strange blue lights, the mysterious soldier who had appeared, and the alien ships that had watched from afar. Some feared them, some worshipped them, but all were changed. Ilara returned to her lab, looking at the empty chair where Kale had once stood. She felt his presence in her mind, the quiet, steady strength, the unwavering belief in humanity. She realized that though he was gone, he had left something behind, a message encoded not in words or machines, but in her heart. She walked to the observation window, looking out at the horizon. The desert was calm, the sun rising higher in the sky. Somewhere out there, Kyle floated among the stars, alive and free, yet tethered to humanity by choice and loyalty. Her communicator beeped. Commander Reese's voice came through, steady but filled with concern. Dr. Wynn, the colony is safe, but there are reports of energy anomalies in the outer ring. Are you monitoring them? Ilara smiled faintly. Yes, Commander. I'm monitoring, and I will continue to watch. Humanity is ready, and Kale has shown us the way. Reese paused. He really cared about us, didn't he? She believed in us, Ilara whispered. And he fought because he knew we could rise. We're not alone in the universe, but we are strong, and we have the heart to protect ourselves. The commander nodded. Then let's make sure humanity never forgets. Ilara looked at the rising sun, feeling the warmth on her face. Kale had chosen to leave, but his legacy remained. Every choice he had made, every action, had been to protect the people he had come to care for. He had shown them the strength of humanity, not through alien power, but through courage, compassion, and hope. And now, humanity had a chance to shine, to grow, to reach beyond the stars on its own. Alara turned to her lab equipment, her mind filled with possibilities. The Aelith might return someday, but humanity would be ready. Kale had prepared them, not with weapons, but with the knowledge that the heart of a human is stronger than any energy, stronger than any alien power. As she watched the last faint traces of blue light fade from the horizon, she whispered softly to the sky, "Thank you, Kale, for believing in us." Somewhere far away, in the void between stars, a faint pulse of blue light shimmered. It was not gone. It was watching. And it was waiting. But now humanity was no longer helpless. It had learned from one who was more than human. And it would rise. The future was theirs. And Kale's choice had made that future possible.